All right, I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting of Monday, November 2nd, 2020. Can we have roll call, please?
Mayor Berman,
Here.
Trustee Carroll,
Here.
Trustee Curtis,
Here.
Trustee Caffino,
Here.
Trustee Gately,
Here.
Trustee Lowry,
Here.
and Trustee Martinez.
No audience comments, trustee comments? Discussion, item number 1, Mr. Bosco.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 1 is a temporary winter outdoor dining reimbursement program. What we are going to do is, the purpose of tonight's discussion is a possible program to assist food establishments with costs associated with outdoor dining this winter as they face indoor restrictions for COVID-19. Staff has a draft policy to discuss with the village board and is looking for feedback on the program and details. Basically, we want to know if you like the program details that we have laid out and whether you feel comfortable bringing it to the village board for approval. If so, the program was not included in our original budget this year and would require a budget amendment to allocate funding from the general fund. And with that, I'm going to pass it along to Mike Toth, who did a lot of the work on it, and he's going to take you through the policy.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, if you recall back in May, the mayor did the executive order that established outdoor dining provisions for restaurants and places of eating and drinking. Some of the general parameters are they had to be, tents had to be close to the building, and the outdoor dining had to be in proximity, not in any drive outs or parking lots. So we're looking to sort of expound upon that program, and I'll go through that in a little bit more detail. Obviously, with the winter months approaching, we did reach out to what would be the 35 businesses or restaurants in town or bars that might be affected by this. We reached out to them to see if there'd be interest in any sort of outdoor dining. We did hear from several of them, and having some positive feedback, we decided to move forward into a little bit more investigation. We did estimate out of the 35 businesses that, maybe 10 to 15 of them would have some sort of outdoor dining element. When we took a good look at the subsite, it would, any sort of fast food establishment, maybe a donut shop. Some of those things did not consider for outdoor dining. We took a look at the, who was taking advantage of the current outdoor dining, who had outdoor space, and kind of ran with it that way. So we'd be looking to establish a dining program that would reimburse businesses for expenditures associated with providing, outdoor dining during the winter. Those might be heating elements, temporary outdoor structures, things of that nature, any sort of hard costs associated with that. The program itself would not pay for reimburse for any personnel costs, staffing the outdoor area, as we felt that was more or less part of just the normal business routine. The program we're looking to establish with funds that were directed from the CARES Act, from Kane County, that were put into the village's general fund. We would look to allocate at this point in time $10,000, up to $10,000 per business for those sort of outdoor expenditures, if you will, based upon the fact that we had a high range of about 15 businesses. There would be a budget amendment done that would budget for $150,000 for the program. And the eligible expenditures going back, because we know some of the businesses have already gone out and spent money to have the outdoor dining area. So there will be some retroactive payment back from August 1 of this past year. And we look to move the program to no later than it would be May 31st of 2021, I believe would be the deadline for that. So again, it's to help for reimburse for any expenses incurred through the outdoor dining. As we all know, the Restore Illinois is in effect. There have been some mitigations in place that right now have basically limited indoor dining to carry out only. So businesses have had to go to the outside. So it's been, a little challenging to keep everyone afloat at this point. Currently, the policy reads that they would have to be anything that'd be done would have to be in conjunction with the Restore Illinois guidelines and the advanced mitigation efforts, as well as the mayor's executive order that I mentioned earlier. So that is probably part of the topic for discussion tonight too, and how to proceed with that. We did create a policy that is in with the packet tonight. We also included an application. Again, this is just for discussion at this point. We did have a resolution, but we decided to have a discussion first and then, with some concurrency, bring it back at a later date. But the policy was in conjunction with what other communities have done, but also too, talking to the North Aurora Fire District and sitting down with the Chief Building Inspector as well, looking at some of the safety elements associated with that. So again, there are some guidelines in place for safety, making sure that not only can the business be successful, but the patrons of the business are safe at the same point as well. So that's the general crux of the conversation. Here to answer any questions you might have. Again, the policy and the application itself is in the actual handout for tonight.
Hey, Mike, how did we come up with that $10,000 amount? I know our CARES grant was $1 million, and our budget's in great shape. So why only $10,000?
Well, if I may interject briefly with that before Mike answers, Trustee Curtis, the money for the program would come from general fund revenues or other general fund reserves that we have established over the years. It wouldn't have nothing to do with the actual CARES funds that we'd be anticipating receiving. So just wanted to clarify that point.
Why is that separated out? I mean, we're getting money.
Let me cover that. There's many residents feel that our CARES reimbursement, what we received, should and could be used to help our local businesses, homeowners, our first responders, our medical workers, et cetera. But the funds were given to us as a reimbursement for our expenses that were qualified under the CARES Act. They were not given to us to be redistributed. So we've come under some interest from the county when we say that we were talking about redistributing the CARES Act money, when they're saying, hey, it's not for us to redistribute. So what we're saying is fine, that we'll take that in, but we can modify our budget to whatever we want to do if we want to come up with some help for our restaurants and individuals or whatever. And whether it's 10,000, 15,000, or 20,000, it doesn't come out of CARES, it's coming out of our general budget.
Understood. Have we spoken to our businesses to see what they need? I mean, a Band-Aid on a open wound, and they're going to shut down anyway. I mean, have we done any research about how much money it would take to keep these businesses open? I don't want to throw money at businesses and then they shut down a month later because it wasn't enough.
We've talked with our restaurants. They're the only ones that we've had conversations with. They seem to be the hardest hit. Other businesses, we're not preventing people from going into their stores and buying if it's a retail shop. Certainly the food stores and the gas stations and everybody else are doing business as usual. So it's really the restaurants that are having the problem. And of course, theoretically, if you're just a bar, you shouldn't be open. Okay, so what we're really working with are those people that are the restaurant and that have the ability to service people outdoors. So that's why we've limited it to that, only because those are the only ones that we've really worked with. I think if the board has ideas of doing something for first responders or homeowners or medical workers or whatever, I think we should discuss it. I think we need to have an open conversation of what can we do. And if, regardless of the money we got from CARES, that, hell, that was just to reimburse us for our expenses. We obviously are able to take money and out of our budget or create new budget items to cover this. So I think we need to discuss it. If people have, if you as a board member have some idea, it doesn't have to be done tonight. It doesn't have to be paid out this week. We just need to have some conversation and find out what can we do to help.
Well, I think that it's a great program. I agree with Laura. I would like to see more money go. But I get a little concerned because the language in the policy talks about being tied to the Restore Illinois guidelines and any requirements imposed by additional tiered mitigation measures. If that Restore Illinois guidelines gets challenged and overturned in court, we shouldn't tie our program to that. I don't think. I think that as long as they adhere to our liquor code and our requirements for our health and safety codes and the county's health and safety codes, I don't think we should tie this program to the Restore Illinois program at all.
I think
That's just my opinion.
everybody's taking direction though from that. I think it's from the standpoint of what is the tent, what the tent should look like, what the heating part of it should look like, rather than us coming up with our own ideas. That's what we're really referring to, is to, you know, the type of device that we're going to put up to allow them to eat outdoors, which is crazy.
Well, we want to make sure the place is safe for people, and we also want to make sure it's structurally sound. So, Mark, to your point, there hasn't been any law that overturned Illinois Restore yet. There's going to be some court battles, and I guess my comment to you on that is, you know, let's wait and see. There's a lot of people suing, a lot of restaurants currently and suing the governor. I don't know if that's going to go anywhere, but I like the idea of keeping our ordinances tied to the state, just for the fact that we can keep people safe. We won't take on any liability.
Okay, any other ideas of what we can do other than, you know, fine, the $10,000, I guess that's what the motion is. You know, that can be changed, that's a number, that can be changed, but I don't know if we haven't had any, we haven't had any requests, we'll put it that way.
Did I read, there's only 6 businesses that are interested in this right now?
So let me go back a little bit about that. So when we started doing this internally, we sent an email to all the food establishments, and we received 6 responses from businesses that said that they were interested in it. That's not to say that some of them wouldn't do it. They were just saying at this time they didn't know what the program would look like. They were simply interested because I think they were planning to do something for sure. And in that regard, the reason we threw $10,000 in as a jumping off point to discuss was we looked at what other towns are doing. Some other towns had programs of $5,000 with a matching component. And quite frankly, in looking at our finances, the village is in a good financial position. So we thought, based on some of the feedback we got from restaurants about how much they've already expended in outdoor equipment, one business, I believe, said that a tent rental is like $1,500 a month. Someone else, you know, has said that they've spent tens of thousands of dollars to retrofit their outside already. So we thought 10,000 was a good number for the board to look at. You can always change that number. That's why it's at the cow tonight.
Well, I think it's a great idea. I think we need to do what we can do and stay within our budget, but do what we can do to help our businesses survive here in our community.
I agree. Yep, great job.
Yeah, and I would like to see, you know, I would like our businesses to come to us and tell us how much they need. I mean, I want to be able to keep as many businesses open. And as far as extending, you know, I don't know if we should be extending this to first responders, residents, like that, because we don't know what further mitigation efforts are going to be taken. Are we going to be shutting down hair salons and nail salons and other types of businesses? So I'd really like to, you know, reserve this money for our businesses, because our businesses are the jobs in our community. And if we don't save the businesses, we're going to have bigger problems. It's going to exacerbate, you know, problems.
The barber shops are open, you know.
I don't think Dale was saying that this was being extended to the other businesses. He was just making the point that the county has criticized us about the idea of dispersing this to our citizens under the funds under the CARES Act, that we have to be careful how we disperse that.
There you go.
Is that right, Mayor
Yes.
Berman?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But I would like to see a clause in here that if for any reason, that any part of this is invalidated, that it doesn't invalidate the whole program. Because I am concerned that if there is a challenge in court and for whatever reason, the Restore Illinois is different or that this is a standalone, that it's not going to put people in jeopardy that have applied for it and have expended money relying on this program, and then somehow this gets challenged in court. So I think if we put that, exculpatory language or whatever in there, that says that if any part of it's invalidated, it doesn't invalidate the whole thing, I think that would be helpful.
Well, we're having a conversation. It's more like a cow meeting. But, there are other communities that are doing more. Some are giving, $200 on their water fees for everybody in the communities. There's all kinds of things that are being done by other communities. Just wanted to, if there's anything that we're of interest to do from the board standpoint. I mean, staff has discussed all these things. They have. And, we're trying to figure out what can we do to help?
Well, what about waiving liquor fees and for a year for the liquor license renewals?
Yeah, that's actually something that we talked about internally. Liquor licenses would generate about $60,000 a year in revenue to the village between our establishments that have it. So that's something, we could potentially look at. Also, one of the things staff talked about, it's minor, it's $50, but potentially waiving business registration fees, which is $17,500 annually roughly to the village.
I'd be fine with that. I mean, I agree. Our businesses shouldn't pay full year licensing fees when they've been, shut down a third or more part of the year.
Trustee Carroll, if I could, was your comments regarding invalidation, was that pertaining to if the state laws were to fluctuate throughout that? Obviously, if one provision changes from one day to the next, that the program itself is invalidated based upon those changing circumstances?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, we do not have to solve this problem tonight. We do not.
Well, I would like to say that I think we should not table this for too long because we have, businesses out there that are really hurting right now. So, I would like to see some urgency, be introduced to this.
Well, if I might, assuming that the board has had good conversation, if the board would like it to move to the next board meeting for a vote with the language that's basically in there right now, we could.
Well, if somebody wants to propose something, we can certainly modify our motion and the dollar amount from 10,000 to whatever we want. And if somebody wants to make a motion to do that, we can do that. So it's not that. I think we need to take some action. I'd like to see us take some action. Yes.
Well, this is a cow meeting
tonight, and we can come back in 2 weeks and approve another 10,000. So.
Well, I say we move ahead with it and see where it lands.
Right.
That's fine.
I think we need a budget amendment for this, so it probably can't be approved until the next board meeting when we can approve the
Just so
budget.
we're all clear, this is a cow discussion. There's no vote tonight. So this
Right.
is to the board. And at the next board meeting, we would have a budget amendment on the agenda.
I'm sorry.
I would like to see also the proposal, and it did not only to this program, but the waiver of the liquor fees and the business registration fees. I mean, I know that's not on the agenda for tonight, but I think that would help our businesses quite a bit.
Well, it is on the agenda because it's part of our discussion because we're looking for other things. And I think that's good. And I think if there's more of a feeling than just you and I for that, I hope that somebody else on the board would express their feelings tonight towards that so that we can come back with an action item that we'd be able to act on based on what the consensus might be tonight.
Yeah, the feedback is great because with that, that the board just gave us, not only will we come back with a budget amendment for this program, but in that budget amendment, the funds would all come from the general fund anyway. So we'll be able to go back and Bill and I will sit down and we'll put a budget amendment to cover the fees as well.
Great.
Sounds good.
We're all in agreement. There we go. Well, let's see. That's all we have to discuss tonight. It's been a very good meeting.
All right.
Entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 We're all done.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Trustee
Aye.
Curtis?